Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Moonbound Silence. Episode 7. Chapter 31 to 36. Jasper's POV. I felt like I had been hit with a 2-ton truck. My head was pounding, and I could feel dried blood on the back of my head. I grunted and grunted, and when I tried to move, I realized that I was restrained. I looked around and also saw that I was 3 feet off the ground, and upside down. What? I grunted. Took you long enough to get up. I look to my right and see Kendrick in the same position that I'm in. What happened? I asked. Well, long story short, I went hunting, caught a doe, was ambushed by someone, hit my head on the ground, and then was punched in the face, then I woke up here. You? I went to go find you, was hit in the back of the head, and then woke up here, next to you, I tell him. Where are we? And why are we upside down? If I know, man, I woke up about 2 hours ago like this, and you were passed out. Whoever has us hit you pretty hard. Kendrick and I tried to break the restraints, but we were too weak, but they weren't silver, which was a good thing. I lifted my upper body to get a look around right side up for a few seconds and realized we were inside some kind of holding cell, but it was made of wood. I slowly went back down, and Kendrick did the same to see if he could get a sense of where exactly we were. By the smell of things and sounds, it looks like we're still in the forest, but we're really far away from any kind of civilization, and the bit of light shining through indicates that it's the next day, he said and lowered his body down again. We hung around because there was nothing else we could do. We stopped trying to break the restraints in order to conserve our energy. We would only lift our bodies up if we felt the blood rushing to our brains became unbearable. After night fell again, we heard the door to our home away from home open. So, I see that you two are awake, we heard a voice. Who are you? And where are we? I asked him. Without giving me an answer, he hit me in the gut and hard. I do not think that you are in a position to be asking questions, he said to me and circled us a few times. Why are you here? Kendrick and I didn't answer. Then he hit Kendrick in the gut. Kendrick shouted. Let us try again, why are you here? We're looking for someone named Lorenzo Rossi, I answer him. I see him flinch a bit. We were told that he would be located in the forest. Yet, we were just getting dinner when you decided to knock us out. Speaking of, I'm still naked. Kendrick shouted. Why are you looking for Lorenzo Rossi? The unknown man asked us. We were told by a priest in Vatican City that he could help us, I reply. With what? I'm not telling you anymore until you let us down from here, I snarked. I didn't know who this guy was, but he was pissing me off. I was biding my time, but something tells me this isn't going to help us. Without warning, I shifted and broke the restraints, making the guy fall back and land on him. Kendrick shifted himself and also broke his restraints. You're an alpha, the man said without any stutter. He may have been on him, but he wasn't afraid. He was more amused. I immediately shifted back and so did Kendrick. And you're not afraid, I say to him. Which means you knew what we were before you even captured us. He stood up and dusted himself off. Yes, I did, he replied. If you knew what we were, why not restrain us with silver chains? Kendrick asked and cracked his neck and back. Unless you didn't intend on killing us, I answer on his behalf. I cross my arms and stare at him. He just smirks. That's when I realize, you are Lorenzo Rossi, I was told by some villagers that I was being sought out, and when I saw that you were werewolves, I thought you were coming to kill me. I have no reason to kill you, at least not yet, I respond. What is it that you seek? Answers. On. Primordial werewolves, when I say this. His eyes widen and his body language changes. Why? He asks with caution. I need help protecting my mate. He gives me a look of confusion, and then a realization hits him. Your mate is a primordial. She is, and she is powerful. I believe that my mate is the chosen one. He looks back at me with surprise in his eyes. So, the high powers have finally decided to give birth to the chosen primordial, he says and taps his chin. He looks back at Kendrick and me. Come with me. Do you think you can give some clothes to wear? Mine are probably lost, and my alpha just shredded his, Kendrick says. Yes, please follow me. We follow him out, and luckily it's dark outside. He leads us to another small cabin in the woods. When we go in, it's literally a cabin with your old-fashioned fire-operating heater, dusty sofa, small sink, old rusty fridge, and a cot. Seeing the cot reminded me of what Sarin used to sleep on. Here you go, these should fit you, Lorenzo says while throwing a couple of shirts and pants our way. They were a little snug, but they would work until we got back to Vatican City. I just hoped our rental car was still in one piece. Mr. Rossi. Please, call me Lorenzo. Okay, Lorenzo, what can you tell us about primordials that the priest in Vatican City could not? I ask. Well, for starters, I am a primordial. Kendrick and I look at each other, both of our eyes wide and nearly popping out of sockets. Hold up, you're a primordial! Kendrick exclaimed. I am. Prove it, I said, crossing my arms. He just stared at me for a minute, then his eyes started to glow. The next thing I knew, I was being lifted in the air. I looked around and then at Lorenzo, and then I was being spun around like a toy. Okay. You've proved your point, I shouted. I was getting nauseous. He put me down and smirked at me. Kendrick still looked like he saw a ghost. Now, what do you need to know about my kind? I need to know what kind of danger my mate is in. She will always be in danger. It comes with the territory. However, I get the feeling that you're not just worried about the simple dangers, you're worried about what will happen if Alessandro discovers her. I just glare at him, and Kendrick growls. Yes, Alessandro still exists, and he has made his life's mission to marry and breed with a female primordial. And I'm sure you know that if your mate is in fact that chosen one, and if he gets his hands on her, he will succeed, that is unless... Unless what? I ask. If she can harness enough power to kill him. I don't want my mate using her powers to kill. She killed a rogue not too long ago, and the guilt almost ate her alive. He gave me a confused look. How long has she known about her pedigree? A few months. What? How is that possible? All primordials are trained from when they are mere pups to learn to control their emotions to prepare them for whatever powers they may possess. It's no wonder Sarin is taking so long to get used to them. It doesn't help she gets a new one every other week, Kendrick said, looking at me. I don't understand, why was your mate never trained? Her parents would have known of what she was the moment she was born. Sadly, my mate's parents were killed when she was 10 years old. The person who killed them took her in and turned her into a child slave. They didn't know who she was, at the time. They suspected she was an orphaned Omega. We only learned of who she really is when I brought her home, and my father spoke to the elders about her predicament. They're the ones who informed us about her being a primordial. I see, this changes things drastically. How so? Well, typically primordials are trained to control their emotions, and that includes the emotion of love. Especially love. Most have even rejected their mate in order to keep that emotion under control. Is that what you did? Kendrick asked him. Yes, I did. Why? I asked. To protect her. You see, when a primordial finds their mate, and they produce a pup, that pup can either be another primordial, or a simple werewolf. It depends on how strong the DNA is. I couldn't risk producing an heir, let alone a female that would be targeted, so I chose to reject my mate, and leave my pack. Wait, you left your pack, willingly? You being a primordial also means that you're an alpha, why would you do that? I asked in complete bewilderment. I left to protect my pack. You see, my power of telepathy is strong, and it doesn't require much energy. However, it is tied to my emotions, and whenever I got angry, I found that I was capable of hurting my pack members without realizing it until it was too late. As a responsible alpha, I stepped down, and gave my pack to my beta. I don't understand, Kendrick said. Our understanding is that a primordial has to have a mate, be marked, and shift for the first time on the full moon after their 18th birthday in order to gain their powers. How do you have yours if you rejected your mate? Kendrick had a good point. How did Lorenzo have his powers if he rejected his mate? And by the looks of it, he doesn't have a mark. Where did you read this? He asked us. In a text that the elders gave to my father. Why? I replied. Because that is a lie, a primordial does not need any prerequisites to gain their powers, he said and gritted his teeth. I looked at Kendrick, who in turn looked at me. Both of us knew immediately that something about the text the elders gave us was off. The text that Jasper found in our pack archives said that the last known primordial was recorded over 100 years ago, Kendrick added. I looked at Lorenzo after Kendrick said that. He was right, there had been no recorded primordials for over 100 years. I see that you are smarter than you look, he said to Kendrick. Telepathy is not the only power that I have, he replies and looks at me. He stares into my eyes and smirks again. Holy SHT, I stare back with wide eyes. You're immortal. I am. What? Kendrick exclaims. But that's one of the rarest powers, I say out loud. I am also the only one who possesses it, he replied. Why is that? Kendrick asked. Lorenzo just smirks again and gets up. He goes over to the small bookshelf that's built into the wall between his makeshift kitchen and the living room where we were sitting. He pulled out a book, and then came back and handed it to me. I opened it and realized that it was a photo album. I looked through it and realized that they were all photos of him. Looking at the quality of the photos, some of these dated back eons. I looked at him confused. Those photos only go back a little less than 200 years, when photography was first created, he says to me. Wait, only? I ask, making sure I heard him right. You see, that very first photo you see in the album is of me, and another primordial by the name of Christoph. He was born in the Netherlands, and when I heard of his birth, I went to go find him. To help harness his powers, however, once he became of age, his power of mind control became too much of a hindrance, and his pack betrayed him. At 20 years of age, he was cast out to live as a rogue, and with his powers, he commanded over 24 rogues, and attacked his former pack. Holy SHT, Kendrick said. I furrowed my brows. Kristoff rained terror on wolves and other supernatural creatures alike, and he was the reason why the higher powers refused to let another Primordial be born. I thought it was because of Alessandro and his obsession for wanting a female, I replied. Although that is what is written, that is not the only reason. The main reason was to prevent another alpha losing control of their powers and using them for personal gain. The last female born was about 200 years before Kristoff, and she unfortunately did not make it. She was a beautiful creature, and she too possessed the power of mind control, in addition to the power of telepathy, and the power of premonition. Ileana was her name, and she was the last female ever born. Born in 1692, she met her demise around 1735. Her body was discovered outside of her pack grounds after she had been taken by Alessandro for nearly 2 decades. How does he find them? I asked. They become known when their bond with their mate is broken. Ileana chose not to reject her mate because she had her emotions under control. Unfortunately, her mate had multiple affairs and even fathered multiple children, none of which were Ileana's. Alessandro found her not too long after she decided her bond was no longer worth fighting for. I don't understand, how do you know all of this? When the hell were you born? Kendrick asked. When I was born is of no relevance, but what is that I can help you with your mate. Because she was never trained the way she should have been, she will need to be trained by someone who knows what they are doing. She may be able to control her powers to an extent, but if she is the chosen one, then whatever her powers are right now, is just the beginning. She will possess some of the greatest powers to ever be gifted to our kind. And if she does not learn to control her emotions, and channel them to her powers, she will lose control, and it will be detrimental to your pack, and to her. What do you mean by detrimental? Your mate could wipe out your entire pack with the snap of her finger if she loses control of her emotions. Especially that of anger and fear. Are you saying that you're willing to train my mate? Yes, because she technically is part of my bloodline, which makes her my family. Kendrick and I look at each other, and send each other a mind link. What do you think, Ken? She's your mate, man. Why does my opinion matter? Because she's your Luna, you dimwit. Do you think we can trust him? He doesn't appear to be lying, and Sarin could always let us know if he is. She can read minds. Good point. Okay, what do you need to train her? I asked him. Before we get down to the nitty and gritty details of how I plan to train your mate, I think we need to sign a contract. What kind of contract? One that ensures my safety. I may be immortal, but that does not mean that there aren't dark witches, demons, or other vampires who wouldn't want to get their hands on my blood. I can't guarantee that. We're werewolves, and we will always have enemies, but I can guarantee that I will do whatever it takes to make sure no harm comes to you while you are within my pack walls. If anyone in my pack is disrespectful or even tries anything remotely threatening against you, I will have them banished. You are an alpha by blood, even if you gave up that right, which means, my pack must respect you just as they would respect me, or any other ranking member of my pack. He glares at me a moment and sees his head. He takes a moment to think about it, and finally smirks. Very well, we shake on it, and actually make a blood oath with Kendrick as a witness. The sun was starting to come up, and Kendrick and I hadn't had a good night's sleep in almost 48 hours, nor had we eaten in the time frame either. Lorenzo went out and caught another deer for us and cooked it up, so we didn't have to eat in wolf form. Though sleeping on a rusty and dusty couch wasn't the most comfortable, it would just have to do. Kendrick and I slept for the entire day. Once night fell, we made our way out of the forest and back to the rental car. Thankfully, it was still there. The three of us made our way back to Vatican City and stayed one more day before getting back on the jet and making our way home. It would take another 24 hours to make it stateside, and we would make it home 2 days ahead of schedule. Fortunately, Kendrick and I had left our wallets in our bags in the rental car, and Lorenzo actually had our phones. So, we didn't lose anything important. However, we did find that we missed several dozen calls from Sarin, Jason, Milan, Melody, and our parents. Kendrick and I decided to hold off on calling and decided we would just speak to them when we got home. This was going to be an interesting conversation, to say the least. Chapter 32. Lorenzo's POV. The Chosen One. I could not believe that the Chosen One actually exists, that is assuming this child is actually the Chosen One. Things will definitely be interesting when it comes to training. It's been centuries since one of my kind has been born, and the fact that it is a female actually terrifies me. Ileana, I will never forget her. She was a beauty indeed, both she and Adrianka were both stunningly beautiful. Their lives were both taken too soon. All because their mates could not keep their bonds whole. I had to see what this child was like. Sarin was the name they used, and I had to admit, it was quite a unique name. The way they spoke of her, especially the alpha, the tone, the admiration, the love in his voice gave me hope that their bond would remain strong, and if Sarin is the chosen, she could finally put an end, Alessandro. So, Alpha Jasper, can you please elaborate on what powers your mate currently possesses? I need to know what she can do in order to determine what kind of training regime she will need. He looked at me and at this beta. I could see the distrust in his eyes. Alpha, I understand that you are skeptical, but rest assured, I want nothing more than to keep your mate safe. If she is the chosen one, she very well may be the last primordial to ever be born, and that means my bloodline will cease to exist. You keep saying your bloodline, what does that mean exactly? He asks me. Primordials are not just products of two pure-blooded alphas as you are led to believe. Each primordial has a direct DNA link to the first of our kind, William, therefore, even if she and I are not fully related, your mate, Sarin is a distant relative, or rather, I am one to her. He nods his head and makes a thinking face. Sarin's first power was the power of mind reading. She obtained it as soon as she completed her first shift, though, I'm assuming she would have obtained it either way. The full moon after her birthday is what gives her powers, I answer. What other powers does she have? She has the power of telepathy, she can control all of Earth's elements, lie detection, and she can freeze time, or at least slow it down. Is that all? She can also project images to me. Ah, it appears that your bond is quite strong if she is able to do that. There was only one other primordial with that power, and he was able to project images to his parents. Did he not have a mate either? The beta asked. He did, but their bond was mediocre at best, but he lived a long life with her, and since she did not come from a line of alphas, their pups had no powers. Being able to project images to your mate would require a strong bond. Tell me, can she do it willingly? Yes, she can. She does it quite often. Tell me, does she have to be touching you in order to do it? That's the only time she seems to do it. Why? No reason, it just gives me a sense of how developed her power is. What is the most powerful thing she has done? Killing that rogue wolf a few weeks ago. What did she do exactly? She levitated it in the air and somehow snapped its neck. Ling it. I see, I rub my chin. Had she done anything else powerful than that? Everything she has been small, putting out a fire, pushing back wind, building a snowman, making a tiny whirlpools when taking a bath, small lie detection, mind reading, nothing of the magnitude that came with killing someone. This was interesting. Sarin had her powers for months now, yet, she has only done small things until it came time to kill the rogue. The rogue she killed, do you know what her emotion was like at the time? I don't, I came in at the tail end of the attack, but Kendrick, you were there, he says to the beta. I was, but I was too busy killing two rogues of my own to even notice what she had done. Dot was the one who witnessed it all. Who is Dot? I ask. Dot is my mate. Her name is actually Melody, we call her Dot because it's a childhood nickname we gave her, because of how small she was. I see, I lift a brow at the strange term of endearment and just shook away the thought. Can you tell me how your mate felt after she killed the rogue? What was her state of mind immediately right after? She knocked herself out. Her wolf had put her into a state of healing. Ah, that tells me she doesn't really know how to control her powers just yet. My sense is that her emotion at the time was fear, and she acted on impulse rather than instinct, and she just got lucky. This gives me a good starting point. I will tell you now, Alpha, my training will be rigorous, and it will be taxing. I will not hold back on her, which means, you may see things that do you like, but I need you to control your eagerness to protect and possess your mate. She needs to learn how to control her powers, and she needs to learn fast. I will also need your help. With what? Well, she will something to protect and focus her emotions on. Keeping you safe from my powers and attacks will be her incentive for picking up training quickly, he nodded his head. After that discussion, the rest of the flight was in silence and sleep. I hated jet lag, so I needed to fix my sleeping schedule. Sarin's POV. It's been almost 6 days since I heard from Jasper, and my emotions were all over the place. I knew my texts were going through, but he wasn't answering, and I didn't know what to think. I tried to keep telling myself that he was okay and that he was going to come home to me. Melody has been a little more upbeat about not hearing from Kendrick, but I know that she is just as worried as I am. Currently, I was sitting in our room just hugging Jasper's pillow, staring at the phone, just hoping to hear from him when I received a mind link from Milan. Sarin. What? Come downstairs now. I grunted and put Jasper's pillow back and made my way downstairs. As was I descending, the smell of fresh rain hit me, and I ran down as fast as I could. I stopped at the base of the stairs when I saw the most handsome man the moon goddess could have ever created. Jasper! I squealed. He turned to face me and opened his arms. I ran as fast as I could and leaped into his arms. Oh, my dearest, I grabbed his face and kissed him frantically and aggressively. He put me down and kissed me back. Ken. I heard Melody squeal herself, and I knew that she also ran into his arms. I couldn't see anything though because I was too busy kissing Jasper. Baby, calm down, Jasper said to me, trying to gently push me away, but I wouldn't let him. I wrapped my arms around his neck even tighter and deepened our kisses. I felt his arms wrap around me and hold me tightly. After kissing him for my life and finally needing to breathe, I pulled away. Breathe, dearest, I'm back. What happened to you? I called and texted, but you never replied. I thought something bad happened. Well, something bad did happen, but it's all okay now, I was about to answer when I heard someone clear their throat. I looked behind Jasper and saw a strange man with Milan and Jason. Who is that? I asked Jasper. He's an acquaintance I met in Italy. Italy? I thought you were in Spain. I looked at him confused. I was, and then I went to Italy. It's a long story, and I promise to tell you everything, but I need to get our guest situated in a guest room, and then we can talk, okay? I nodded my head. Okay, go back to our room, and wait for me there. He pecked my LPS and I went back to our room. I sat on the couch in our commons area and waited. About 15 minutes later, Jasper came in. He saw me on the couch and walked right over and sat down next to me. Before he could even get in a word, I straddled him and ssc'd him again. Jasper, before we talk, I want it now, I tell him and ss his jaw and his neck. Dearest, let's go in the shower, I nodded. We ssc'd the entire walk there while taking each other's clothes off. Jasper wanted me and as much as I wanted him. I didn't think I would miss him the way that I did, but it felt as if a part of me was completely missing. I needed him now more than ever. We didn't even wait for the water to turn warm. Once we were fully ached, I jumped up into his arms, and he held me under the cold water. We were both heating up from the need to be with each other that it was cooling both of us down. Once I was able to control my urges, I had Jasper put me down, and decided to wash his body for him. I grabbed his body wash and his body sponge, lathered it up and started to wash him. First I did his neck and shoulders, his back, his HPS, even his. Then I turned him around and washed him. While washing his front side, Jasper had his hands on my HPS and kept me close to him. I missed you so much, dearest. Not as much as I missed you, I reply and wash his arms. I had him stand right under the shower head to wash off, and then started washing his legs for him. I mean, I had seen it before plenty of times, but not up close and personal like this, and gently cleaned that as well. I watched as it started to harden as I washed it. I looked up at Jasper and his eyes were closed as he washed his hair. I put the body sponge down and let the water rinse off the rest of his body. I pushed my hair out of my face, and grabbed his DCK with one of my hands, and started to pull on it while massaging at the same time. I thought back to the banana that Milan and Melody showed me what to do on, and I remembered that squeezing too tight would hurt him. Sarin, I heard him M0AN. I looked up again and I could him looking at me as water ran down his face. Do you like that? I asked, making sure I wasn't squeezing too tight. Yes, FK, keeping working it like that, so I kept going. I started to use both hands and his M0ANING got louder. I knew that was I doing it right. I watched as something seeped out, and I remember Melody saying, "It leaks out when a man is really turned on, just like it does for a woman." She said that it feels good to a man when we LCK it off. By this time, I knew I was going to choke, but the girls said guys love it when you take it all, and press our face against their body, so I did. I took a deep breath, and took all of Jasper, and pressed my nose against his. Baby, he shouted. I thought I had hurt him and immediately pulled back. I'm sorry, did I hurt you, Jasper? I asked worriedly. Hurt me? No, keep going. I smiled and did as he said. I kept pulling on it until he was done, and he told me to stop. Where did you learn to do that? He asked me, trying to catch his breath. I don't think you want to know. He looked down at me and lifted an eyebrow. Dearest, were you watching naughty videos while I was away? No. Don't lie to me. I'm not, I promise. Then tell me where you learned like that, he said and grabbed my chin. I was still on my knees at the time, so he was completely hovering over me. Milan and your sister. Ah, he gr0aned in disgust and stood up straight. I couldn't help but laugh. I told you that you didn't want to know, I giggled and hugged him. Yet, turn around, let me wash you now. I turned around and Jasper cleaned me the way I did to him. He even washed my hair for me, which was already clean, but I wasn't going to stop him. After he was done, he braided my hair for me, and then pressed me against the shower wall. I think it's my turn now, he said. Ah, Jasper, I immediately grabbed his hair with both of my hands to keep myself steady. Oh my god, Jasper, please, more, yes, I am 0aned. He was being more aggressive than normal, but I liked it. He was filling me with so pleasure that I had not yet experienced with him. You are so delicious, FK. I screamed at the top of my lungs. Jasper hummed as he continued. But this time, I saw stars. I didn't think that was possible. Not only did I see stars, but I could swear my legs were shaking uncontrollably. Jaspered, I couldn't form any words. What he was doing to me was nothing short of magical. He stopped. Whoa, not yet beautiful, we're just getting started, he said and picked me up and pinned me against the shower wall. Without warning, Jasper put it in and started to me against the wall. This was better than when we did it in the office. She wanted out, and she wanted out right now. I couldn't stop her. She took over and grabbed the back of Jasper's hair. Jasper. Callie, what do you think you're doing? Bring Sarin back. No, you're going to let Blade out. Callie. Jasper stopped what he was going. I could tell that Callie was making him mad. I was trying to take control again, but she wasn't letting me. Jasper pinned our arms above our head and pushed in so deep that our eyes rolled to the back of our head. Bring Sarin back, he commanded. Fine. Callie gave me back control and I could see Jasper staring at me. Dearest, what the hell was that all about? He asked me. I think she missed Blade as much as I missed you. Well, she and Blade can wait for their turns, he said and crashed his LPS against mine. Jasper, yes. Arg. You feel so good, baby, he growled into my ear and then started. Jasper was multitasking with his body. Ah, Jasper, oh my god. I love you so much, baby, he growled in my ear. I turned to face him and kissed him deeply. Our tongues fighting for control, but I lost the moment I was losing energy but in the best way possible. I am 0aned. Ah. I was still breathing hard, and I couldn't move. Dearest, are you okay? We got cleaned up and exited the shower. Don't bother putting on any clothes. Why? Because after we talk, I'm going to take you, again. My eyes widened in surprise, but I complied and just dried my hair a bit. Once it was dry enough, I threw it up into a messy bun, and I went to go join Jasper in bed. I crawled over him and got under the covers where he immediately pulled me close to him. I snuggled into his chest, and just wanted to sleep, but we needed to talk about the strange man he brought with him. So, who is that man you brought back with you? I asked. I'll get to that, but first, I need to tell you why I went to Italy. I nodded my head and looked up at his gorgeous face as I rested my head on his chest. I went to Italy to study more about you. Kendrick and I met a priest who told us about the first primordial that was discovered in 5000 BC, whose name was William. Everything he told us was stuff we already knew, so I felt that he wasn't going to be of any help, but before we left, he told us to find a man named Lorenzo Rossi. Is that the guest that came back with you guys? Yes, it is. Believe it or not, while we were looking for him, he found us first and knocked us out and held us captive for 24 hours. I sat up and looked at him with concern, but he pulled me back down. Don't worry, he's not dangerous, at least not like that. When we told him why we're looking for him, we found out that he's actually a primordial himself. What? I looked up at him in shock. Are you sure? I'm positive, dearest. Since all primordial are supposed to have powers, I made him prove it, and he ended up using me as a human toy while he spun me in the air. I looked at him like he was crazy, or more than what happened to him was crazy. He's been around for a while, at least several hundred years. How is that possible? I asked. He's immortal. What? I sat up again and looked at him. Yeah, and he's here to help you. Help me with what? Controlling your powers and learning to control your emotions as well. Apparently, your ancestors were trained from young ages to learn to control their emotions and channel them into whatever powers they were blessed with, but given what happened to you, you weren't trained like you were supposed to be. And since you two are the last of your kind, he believes that you are the chosen one who is supposed to kill the vampire. But I don't want to use my powers to kill Jasper, that's not who I am. I know, dearest, but you need to be prepared to do it when worse come to worse. If Alessandro learns of your existence, then he will stop at nothing to get to you. That includes harming the ones we care about. You need to be able to protect yourself, and those that look up to us. You're not just a rare wolf, Sarin, but you're also a Luna, remember that. I nodded my head in understanding. I know that this is a lot, but I do believe Lorenzo can help you learn to harness your powers and help prevent you from blacking out again. When are you going to introduce me? Tomorrow. We all need time to rest, and Lorenzo needs time to get acclimated to his new surroundings. I nod my head again and lay back down. I took a deep breath and just inhaled Jasper's scent. Although this was a lot of information, I was just happy to have him home with me again. After a few minutes of just enjoying being in each other's arms, Jasper stayed true to his word, and we had again. Only this time, it was slow, sensual, filled with passion, and lasted for hours. Chapter 33. Melody's POV. After Jasper and Sarin went upstairs, it didn't take long for Kendrick and me to follow them. Knowing my brother, he was going to have Nooka time, and only the devil himself was going to stop me from having it too. I was determined to complete the mating ceremony with Kendrick. Even with the chance of being pregnant, so nothing was going to stop me from marking him. When we got to our room, I helped Kendrick unload his suitcase and put his clean clothes and toiletries away and put his dirty clothes down the laundry chute. Angel. Yeah. Why aren't you talking to me? I looked up from what I was doing. The only thing you've said to me is my name when you came running into my arms. Since then, you haven't said one word to me. Oh, I'm sorry, I hadn't even realized. I walked over to him and put my arms around his neck. Hi. Haha, hi. So, you want to tell me why Sarin and I weren't able to get a hold of you or my brother for almost 6 days? I asked, lifting a brow. Long story short, that guy you saw downstairs, the guest, he knocked us out and held us, prisoner, for a day, then we crashed in his living room for another. Then after that Jasper and I decided that instead of trying to explain what happened via text or phone, it would be best to just tell you face to face. I see, so, if this guy held you two prisoner, why the hell is he in our house? He's here to help Sarin. Help her with what? That's not for me to say. Jasper wants me to keep this to myself until he announces why Lorenzo is here. Just know, you have nothing to worry about, I promise. I pushed my L.P.S. to one side of my face and lifted another brow, but he made the gesture of sealing his L.P.S. and throwing away the key. I gave up. If there was one thing that I knew about Kendrick, is that no matter how much he loved me, he was loyal to my brother and knew how to keep secrets. So, have you made an appointment yet? No, I was waiting for you to come home, plus, I want to take a home test first, and for that, we still need to wait at least another week, I reply. Okay, he replied and leaned down to kiss me. It was a sweet and gentle kiss and lasted a few seconds. So, tonight is going to be a chill and relax night. Before we get into the swing of things tomorrow, what did you want to do? I was so happy he asked. Well, I start to say and draw small circles around his pecs. I was thinking we could, I continue and start to kiss his neck. Play a little catch up, I kiss his neck some more, and I could hear a faint M0an come out of his L.P.S. Angel, oh, he tried to say something, but I'd his neck where my mark would go, and he immediately shivered under my touch. I'm sorry, what was that? I ask and nibble the same SP0T, making him shiver even more. As I keep our bodies close together and T0RTURE him a bit, I could his little friend getting ready to party. I pull his face to mine and devour his sensational L.P.S. in a mouth-watering and aggressive kiss and pull him towards the bed. When I feel it behind my legs, I turn us around and push him down. Oh, good. We both laugh together and hold each other. As much as I want to pass out, I think we should shower, and change the bedding. I'm pretty sure your SQU, rooting destroyed the mattress too. Sorry, I giggle. It's all right, Angel. I've been meaning to get a new mattress anyway. This one is old. How about we go shopping during the weekend and we can pick one together? Yeah, that sounds like a plan, I answer and kiss his nose. We get up, take off the bedding, and go into the shower. After we clean up, we put on clean sheets and a clean comforter and go to bed. Sarin's POV. The next morning, Jasper went to training as normal, and I went down to the kitchen to help Mr. and Mrs. Williams prepare breakfast for the pack house. One would think that I would take advantage of the fact that I don't have people anymore, but I actually did quite enjoy it. At least now I did. Everyone was always grateful for my help, and Mr. and Mrs. Williams even let me pick out the menu every morning. Today was going to be waffles with all the fixings. Mr. Williams was working on making the batter, and we had 6 waffle makers at the ready with an omega at each one. Mrs. Williams, 3 other omegas, and I were in charge of cleaning and chopping up all of the berries and filling up the condiment bottles with the agave nectar, Nutella, syrup, and caramel sauce. One by one, waffles were being piled into an aluminum pan, and we were putting all of the fruits and syrups along the island so it would allow everyone to make their own however they pleased. Once we got about 30 waffles into the pans, pack members started to roll in from the fresh smell that had now filled the castle. As the pack members were getting their waffles together, we realized that they were taking 2 or 3 each, so Mr. Williams quickly made another batch of waffle batter. As members started to take their leave with their breakfast, the guys and Milan came in from training. "Oh man, are we having waffles for breakfast?" Jason asked with excitement. "We are," I replied. "Good morning, dearest," Jasper said and kissed my cheek. "Ew, you stink," I tell him, and he just chuckled. Go shower you guys, there are a few minutes before we have more waffles ready, I tell them. Okay, they all said together and went to go get cleaned up. I decided that I would make special waffles for Jasper and took a portion of the waffle batter and added a pinch of nutmeg, cinnamon, and brown sugar to the mixture. Sarin, what are you doing? Mrs. Williams asked me with a grin on her face. Making special waffles for Jasper, I said shyly. What kind of recipe is this? It was my Nana's. I remember her teaching me this when I was younger. It was one of my favorites, so I figured I would share it with Jasper, I reply. The brown sugar caramelizes as the waffle cooks and gives it a nice crunch while the inside is still fluffy. Well, I'm sure the alpha will enjoy them, she says with a smile and goes back to cutting up more fruit. A few minutes later, Jasper came back down and was about to get a plate. Jasper, I have your waffles right here. Go sit down and I'll bring your plate to you, I tell him. Okay, dearest. I waited for his waffles to finish, and I opened the waffle maker. They were perfectly golden brown, and I could tell the sugar melted nicely. I put it on his plate and made 2 more. 2 for Jasper and 1 for myself. I load the plates with fresh berries and a little bit of agave nectar and Nutella. Special delivery, I say and kisses his cheek while placing his plate in front of him and sit down myself. Hold up, why do Jasper's waffles look different? Kendrick asked. I made special waffles for him and myself, I reply and smile at Jasper without even looking at Kendrick. Jasper lifts an eyebrow at me and takes a bite. I wait for his reaction. Whoa, Sarin, what are these? He asks with excitement and takes another bite. I smile really big seeing that he really likes it. It's my Nana's waffle recipe. Oh, your Nana. I remember her. She was a sweet lady, Jasper said and took my hand in his. No fair, why does my brother get special Nana waffles and we get normal waffles? Melody asks. Geez, okay. Tomorrow I'll make a big batch so everyone can have my Nana's waffles, happy. I yell at them. They all nod and go back to eating. I just roll my eyes and start eating my own waffles. After breakfast, Jasper called everyone to his office, including his parents. As we were all waiting in there was a knock on his door, and the guest of honor came in. Son, what's going on? Who is this? Ronan asked. Everyone, this is Lorenzo Rossi. Kendrick and I met him while in Italy, Jasper answered. I stood by his side while he was seated at his desk speaking to everyone. Jasper explained to everyone in the room why he and Kendrick went to Italy after the business meeting in Spain. When he told everyone who Lorenzo really is and why he was here, the entire office went silent. No one knew what to say, and honestly, neither did I. Meeting someone that was just like me was something that I never expected. The silence was broken by Ronan. So, Mr. Rossi, you say that you are also a primordial, what powers do you exactly possess? Well, Mr. Valencia, I possess the power of telepathy, and immortality, no one could say anything to that. So, what exactly do you plan on teaching my daughter-in-law? I want to help her control her emotions and her gifts. If she is who I think she is, then she possesses greater power than any primordial before her. And why would you want to do that? I want her to be prepared for anything. The Alpha already explained that the one time she exerted too much power, she made herself black out. I want to prevent that from happening again. Cut the SHT, Milan said out of the blue. You're here to teach her to KLL that vampire that's after her. Milan. Jasper shouted in his Alpha voice. It's quite all right, Alpha. Young lady, I never once denied that that was my intention. Preparing the Luna to harness her gifts, and perfect them will not only help her in battle should the need arise, but if for whatever reasons Alessandro does learn of her existence, and then yes, I want to prepare her to kill him. But, I'm not, I wanted to say something, but Jasper stopped me. Sarin, I know that you never want to kill anyone, but dearest, you need to able to protect yourself. Even though you were able to kill the one rogue, you passed out immediately after you did. If that happens again, you're a sitting duck, and I would never forgive myself if anything were to happen to you. I need you to train with him and learn to harness your powers to your full potential. I looked at him unsure of myself, but nodded anyway. If we are all on the same page then, Luna, please come with me. What? I looked at Lorenzo. We need to start right now, I need to see what exactly it is you can do. I looked down at Jasper and he just nodded his head assuring me that it would be okay. I followed Lorenzo out of Jasper's office, down the stairs, and out back behind the castle. It was a little chilly outside and it had been snowing more regularly with the winter season, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't handle without a jacket. Being a werewolf had its perks. Now, Luna, training will start off easy, because I need to be able to gauge how in tune you are with your powers and your emotions. Once I know what you are capable of, I will create a training course, and it will only get harder as we progress. I want to be sure that should need ever arise, you will be able to protect yourself and those around you, without placing them or yourself in any harm. I just nodded my head. Since there appears to be plenty of snow, how about a friendly snowball fight? We will each make 30 snowballs. I nodded my head and bent down. Ah, with your powers, I looked at him in shock and stood back up. I watched as he quickly made 30 snowballs, but what shocked me was that he didn't use his hands with his powers. He did it all with this mind. How did you do that? I asked him. Do what? Use your telepathy without using your hands. Ah, that comes with time and experience, he says. I pout and quickly make my snowballs and I can tell that he is watching me every time I do. When I finish, I look back at him. It appears that you are in tune with your telepathy, at least for a small task such as making the snowballs. Now how about throwing one at me? With my hand or my powers? Everything we do will be with your powers, Luna. I nod my head. I lift a snowball in the air and try to hold it steady. I try to throw it at him, but it only goes a few feet. I immediately pout. Hey, I'm guessing you haven't thrown anything with your telepathy yet, have you? I shake my head. Well, this is going to take longer than I thought, he sighs. 3 hours later, and I'm barely able to toss a snowball 10 feet. The closest I got to Lorenzo was a foot in front of him, and it wasn't even like the snowball went flying and it was short, it really floated to him and then went splat in front of his feet. Using my powers for 3 hours straight was making me so weak, that I ended up falling to my knees exhausted. I think that's enough for today, Luna. You have exerted too much energy. I nod my head and try to stand but can't. I mind link Jasper. Jasper, can you come get me? I can't stand. I'll be right down. About a minute later, Jasper was by my side and lifted me up in his arms. Are you okay? He asked and then looked at Lorenzo with an angry face. Don't be mad, I'm okay. I'm just tired from having used too much power the last few hours, I tell him and lean into his C.Hest. Alpha, it appears that she is weaker than I originally thought. Although she is able to control her telepathy, without the proper training, she can only move things a few feet. I see potential in her, but this will take time. I do not appreciate you forcing her to use so much energy in one day, Lorenzo, Jasper says to him while gritting his teeth. I'm too exhausted to even tell him to calm down. Alpha, you need to understand that although she is young, she is not a child, and she is a powerful wolf. You should have more faith in her, Lorenzo says and walks away. Same time tomorrow, Luna, he says while walking away from us. Sure, I muster out. Come on dearest, let me take you the room so you can rest. I nod my head and Jasper carries me to our room. I ended up falling asleep on the way there. The last thought that went through my mind was what Lorenzo said. I'm a powerful wolf. Chapter 34. Lorenzo's POV. 1 month later. That's it. Keep going. I shout at Sarin. Over the last month, her power of telepathy has grown much stronger. She is now able to throw things using her mind but we are still working on power. Her speed and agility when in wolf form is quite impressive and her power of mind reading is now completely under control. Currently, we are working powers of controlling Earth's elements congruent with her telepathy. We are on a boat in the middle of the lake, which has not fully frozen over and Sarin is creating a whirlpool within the lake about 20 feet in front of us. The young Luna is quite a fast learner, but as I suspected, her emotions are not in control. A week after we first started to train, Sarin lost control of her anger when she got frustrated with being able to throw snowballs and ended up sending a massive mind link to her pack that made several people pass out. Of course, this only proved that she was more powerful than anyone realized, and some of the pack members have even begun to fear her instead of respecting her. The Alpha had a lot of damage control to do, but it appears all of the ranked members have no issues with her and are very supportive. This is good because she needs all of the support she can get. The whirlpool was looking nice, and she was keeping it steady, for a few minutes before I gave her the okay to let it die down and go back to being part of the calm lake. Whoa, that was the biggest whirlpool I ever created, she said with a happy tone. That was impressive, Luna, but you have to remember that your emotions are tied to your powers. Being very happy or too excited may backfire. Always keep a calm demeanor when using your powers, and never let your emotions drive how you react. Yes, Lorenzo, I understand. Very good, we are done for today. I went to start to the boat, but figured I could add one more course to her training. Luna, I know that you are exhausted, but how about one more course? Sure. Get us back to the dock, without making us crash. She stared me a minute and looked at the lake before us. We were a good 100 feet from the dock by the castle, and I watched as she contemplated her solution. I saw her go the back of the boat and gently started to move the propellers with her telepathy and steer the boat at the same time. She was calm and collect, and she made sure not to go too fast. I was proud of what she accomplished in just a month. She got us about 10 feet from the dock and released her control on the propellers and concentrated on steering and stopping the boat without us crashing. Very good, Luna. That was absolutely perfect. With time, we will work on speed and stopping at a sudden notice, she smiled and nodded at me. We both disembarked and I was working on tying the boat back into place when suddenly a guard came running towards us. Luna. Mr. Rossi. We're being attacked by rogues. Sarin and I looked at each other and as if we're thinking the same thing, or perhaps she read my thoughts, we both shifted into our wolves, and we followed the guard to where the fight was taking place. I was in shock. There were at least 3 dozen rogues, and they were massive. I had never seen rogues this large before. I charged into the fight and used my powers to stop 4 rogues from attacking one of the palace guards. I lifted all of them into the air and suffocated all of them by crushing their larynx. When they all died, I shifted back and helped the young warrior to his feet and got him to safety. When I came back, I found the Luna and Alpha fighting side by side. Sarin was in human form and she was using her powers to keep the rogues in place while Alpha led them. Well, that's what I call teamwork. I think to myself. My thoughts were interrupted when two rogues jumped me from the left and the right. Although one of them got a clean bite into my shoulder, being immortal had its perks, and the power of rapid healing was even better. I used my agility to confuse the two rogues and snapped both of their necks before they knew what hit them. After what seemed like hours of fighting, only a handful of rogues remained, and they retreated realizing they were not going to win. I shifted back to my human form and was handed a pair of shorts from another palace guard. I made my way to the Alpha and Luna. Sarin was back in wolf form, probably to hide her nudity in front of others while the Alpha was in human form inspecting her body for any injuries. Alpha, how is she? She appears to be fine, though, she says that she is a little exhausted. Yes, I assume she would be. We had just finished training when we were called to battle, he just nods at me and inspects her once more to be certain. She nuzzles against him. An act of assurance that she is perfectly fine. A guard comes with a robe for her, the Alpha holds his up while she shifts back and puts it on. Lorenzo, are you all right? She asks me. I am fine, Luna, I am immortal, remember. Oh, that's right, I keep forgetting, I smile at her innocence. Alpha, tell me, are rogues in America normally that large? No, Lorenzo, they're not. This is the second time in 2 months that we've been attacked within our walls by these enlarged rogues. I was about to reply to him when a guard shouted. Alpha! We have a survivor. We look in their direction and see them hog-tying one of the rogues who was still breathing. Bring him to the cellar, the Alpha commanded. I smirked seeing his Alpha aura. Strong and powerful. I thought to myself as I followed him and the guards. Jasper's POV. As the guards took the captured rogue down to the cellar, I rushed Sarin upstairs. When we got to our room, I removed her robe and double-checked her. Jasper, I'm perfectly fine, she said to me while touching my arms. Sarin, I saw you get bitten. I did, but I think my power of rapid healing is why there are no marks on me, she replied. I let out a sigh and finally relaxed. Babe, you're injured, she said to me and saw the claw mark on my back. I'm okay, dearest, it will heal in a few hours. I wish I could give you my power of healing, I don't like seeing you injured. Hey, I will gladly take an injury if it means this beautiful body of yours stays in one piece. I wonder, she started to say and turned me around. I felt her LCK the wound. Dearest, what are you doing? I thought it would help it heal faster. Baby, I turned to face her. I appreciate the gesture, but it doesn't work the same as sealing a mark. She nodded and frowned. I couldn't help but love her even more. It was the small things that she did that made my heart flutter. Come on, let's shower and I will patch these up for you, she said sweetly, and I nodded. After our shower, Sarin put on some antibiotics on the wounds and patched me up to keep it covered until it scabbed over, which would only take about an hour. I laid Sarin down for a nap. Although she exerted a lot of energy using her powers to help me kill the rogues, she didn't pass out like she did the first time, but I could tell that she was still exhausted. I kissed her forehead while she immediately fell asleep. I sent a mind link to everyone and had one of them grab Lorenzo and told them to meet me in my office. This is the second time that rogues have entered these walls, and this time, there were over 30 of them. I shouted and slammed my fist on the desk. Jason, did your dad figure out how they got in? Yeah, my dad said that the laser tripwires malfunctioned. Someone tampered with them from the inside. What? Are you telling me that we have a traitor within our pack? It seems that way, brother, but they left no evidence, he replied. I was shaking. Someone betrayed this pack, and I was going to make it my mission to figure out who they are. I may have to get Sarin to use her power of mind reading to help. Jasper, where's Sarin? Milan asked. She's sleeping. Her body is exhausted. How did she leave without a scratch on her? I could have sworn I saw her get bit, Kendrick said. She did, it's the ability of rapid healing. She healed almost instantly, I replied. Lucky, Milan muttered. It's an ability that primordials have, Lorenzo stated. As all werewolves, we have the power of speed, rapid healing, and a heightened sense of smell and hearing. However, our primordial gene pool heightens those abilities to almost 5 times the magnitude. Wouldn't that make all primordials immortal then? Kendrick asked. No, the power of immortality is different. The Luna cannot be injured, nor will she be weakened by silver or wolfsbane. However, she can still be killed. I, on the other hand, cannot be killed. Weapons cannot pierce my skin. I even tested my immortality back in the 1700s with a guillotine. The blade shattered when it hit. We all looked at him like he was insane, but then again, none of us had ever met an immortal werewolf before. I can see your heads pondering questions, however, we need to move on. I need to know why these rogues were so massive. I wish I can tell you, Lorenzo, this is only the second time we've seen them, and even we have no idea where they come from or how they're so big, I answer. Well, we can always ask, Jason said. I smirked, remembering we have one in custody now. I dismiss the girls, and the guys come with me down to the cellar. When we arrive, I'm surprised to see Angelo and Owen standing guard. I figured you two would be down there torturing him, I say to them. We figured we would leave that you, Alpha, Angelo replied with a head bow. Angelo, I hear that congratulations are in order for you as well. Thank you, Alpha. Michelle and I are excited for our little bundle of joy. She and the beta are ecstatic and call themselves pregnancy buddies. I couldn't help but laugh. Hearing that my sister was pregnant 2 weeks ago was the best news the castle had received after Sarin becoming Luna, the first-ranked pup to be conceived. Though many still wonder why Jason and Milan have no pups, it's because Milan isn't ready to give up being a warrior. Milan has been a fighter all her life, and she has always been good at it. Having a pup would mean she would have to succumb to motherhood for at least a year, and she just isn't ready for that yet. Open the door, I commanded. Yes, Alpha. Angelo and Owen bring out their keycards and insert them at the same time. This is the only way to open the doors to cellars from the outside. Inside, only required a retina scan from a high-level warrior like Angelo, Owen, Hugo, and Maddox, our 4 head trainers, and a ranked male. Not to be chauvinistic, but the girls were not allowed in the cellars without their male counterparts. It was for their protection. As we all descended down the stairs, Angelo accompanied us to stand watch at the bottom of the stairs, while the rest of us went to speak with the rogue that appeared to be on steroids. I half expected to find a passed-out wolf, but instead, I found that the wolf shifted back to its human form, only to see the body of a young boy. What? Jason said, seeing the boy chained in the cell. He looks to be 18 or 19 years old. Is he alive? Kendrick asked. Yes, Lorenzo answered. I can hear his heartbeat. How the hell can a kid of his size turn into the rogue we fought not even an hour ago? I asked. They all shrugged their shoulders, even Lorenzo was at a loss for words. Wake him up. Kendrick and Jason opened the cell and splashed cold water on him, making him stir. What? Where am I? The kid freaked out. He studied his surroundings and then saw us. Who are you? Where am I? Silence, I commanded in my alpha voice, but he didn't really submit. He just shut up. What's your name? Victor. Why did you attack my pack? What? Pack? What the hell are you talking about? What is a pack? And why is your voice different from just a second ago? I looked at the others and they were just as confused as I was. Victor, what is the last thing you remember? I was at the movies with my girlfriend, and when we came out, we were mugged and, oh God, Gina. Please, don't hurt Gina. She's only 17, please don't hurt Gina. He was frantic, and he was terrified. What kind of wolf was this? Alpha, I think we have a problem, Lorenzo whispered in my ear. I looked back at him. Look at his wrists and ankles. I looked at the boy and saw that his wrists and ankles were fine. There were no burn marks on them. That's not possible for a werewolf. What the hell? I say out loud. Please, do whatever you want to me, just don't hurt Gina. Please, she's an only child, and it's just her and her mom, please don't kill her. Victor cried. Victor, calm down, I tell him sternly, and he does while still sobbing. You said you were mugged, what happened after that? I woke up here, he replied. Look, my family is loaded, if it's money you want, just set a price and they'll pay it. What the hell? Does he think we kidnapped him? I think to myself. Kendrick. What's up? Go wake Sarin and bring her down here. I want to see if this kid is lying. Kendrick nodded and went to go get Sarin. We waited a few minutes, and Kendrick came down with Sarin in tow. Jasper, what's going on? She asked me. I pulled her over to the far corner and whispered to her. Dearest, I need you to talk to the boy. Boy? The rogue, I get the feeling that he's not a werewolf. Jasper, how is that possible? I don't know, dearest, but he only looks to be about your age, and when I said the word pack he acted as if he didn't know what I was talking about. What? Sarin, I need you to see if this boy is possibly human. But, he smells like a rogue. I know, but I get the feeling that he isn't. She nodded her head and we went back to the cell. I stepped back to let Sarin do her thing. Sarin's POV. I stood in front of the cell and looked at the boy in front of me. Jasper wasn't kidding, he looked young, and his wounds weren't healing. What shocked me more was the fact that he was chained with silver, yet his wrist and ankles weren't burning. Hi, my name is Sarin Duquesne, what's yours? I asked carefully. Victor, Victor Aguilar. Victor, do you know how you ended up here? You guys kidnapped me, he replied. He wasn't lying. Although it wasn't true, in his mind, he thinks we kidnapped him. Can you tell me the last thing you remember? Why don't you ask your boyfriend over there? I told him all of this already, he said with a broken voice. Well, my boyfriend doesn't know how to pass along messages, so I need you to tell me in your words, please. I asked nicely, hoping he would see I meant him no harm. Something about his was off. Even though smelled like a rogue, even I had a hard time believing he was a werewolf. I was at the movies with my girlfriend Gina, and then we were mugged. Then I woke up here, he responded, and again, he wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. Victor, how old are you? 19. Do you know what today is? I'm going to guess Sunday, since I went to the movies on Saturday. Wrong answer, but not a lie. Victor, what's today's date? Jasper asked him. He was thinking the same thing I was. It's Sunday, December 4th. Wrong answer yet again, but he was telling the truth in his own mind. I looked at Jasper and at the others, and they were all thinking the same thing. Victor, it's not December 4th, it's December 18th, Jasper told him. What? You've kept me, prisoner, for 2 weeks. Victor shouted. No, we haven't, I replied. Victor, we found you today. Victor looked at me in shock, but his eyes told me he knew that I wasn't lying. Victor, what are you? What do you mean, what am I? Are you asking for my race? No, I'm asking about your species, I reply. What? Are you serious right now? I'm human. What else would I be? Jasper, I looked back at him and he was shocked as well. Jason, unchain him and put into one of the cleaner cells. Keep his feet chained though. Clean him up, bring clothes, food, and water. And get Dr. Andrews down here for care for his wounds, and tell him I want a blood sample. No one is allowed down here until we figure out what the hell is going on. Yes, sir. Victor, we're going to take care of you, okay? You don't have to be afraid of us. I don't care what happens to me, please, just don't hurt Gina, he replied and lowered his head in defeat. I walked back to Jasper and put my hands on his chest. Jasper, he's not lying. In his mind, he is telling the truth, but that's not the scary part. What is it? The rogue smell, it's going away. Victor is human, I say and look up at Jasper, who is furrowing his brows. Alpha, the Luna is correct, I can sense it as well. Whatever happened to this boy, I don't think we were ever meant to find out. Whoever did this to him, probably didn't expect him to survive the attack, or expected him to run away when their loss became inevitable. So, he's telling the truth? He doesn't remember what happened to him for the last 2 weeks. Jasper asks. I may not be able to detect lies the way the Luna can, but with my heightened sense of smell, even I can sense when someone is attempting to lie, but he wasn't. Kendrick, Jasper called to him. What's up? Grab my sister and Milan and go through human news stories. Go back to 2 weeks ago, and see if there are missing person reports for a Victor Aguilar matching his description, and see if you can figure what happened to his girlfriend, Gina. I need a last name on the girlfriend, Kendrick said. I turned to Victor, was now being placed in a much nicer cell with an actual bed and toilet and only one ankle being chained. Victor, I want to help find your girlfriend, can you tell me her last name? Why? So, you guys can kidnap her too. You, he spat. Like I'm going tell you her last name is Jefferson. Well, at least I know I can read the thoughts of humans too, I whisper to Jasper and the others. Her last name is Jefferson, I tell Kendrick. He nods and leaves the cellar. I looked at Victor and can see just how weak and defeated he is. There was no doubt that someone did this to him, but the question is why? Chapter 35. Kendrick's POV. After getting Melody and Milan, we went into Sarin's office to go over news stories of the human variety. It didn't take us long to find the news coverage on an affluent 19-year-old by the name of Victor Aguilar who went missing after going to the movies with his girlfriend Gina Jefferson on December 3. Though finding his story was the good part, the bad part was that his family wasn't looking for him. Apparently, they had a funeral for him and his girlfriend 1 week after they were taken when their bodies were found. Whoever did this covered their tracks, Milan said reading over the article. I found another one. Apparently the body that was supposed to be Victor wasn't identifiable, so they used dental records, Melody said. What about the girlfriend? Milan asked. Her body was identifiable, her face and everything was intact, Melody said softly. We all hung our heads. Wait, how could they use dental records if it wasn't his body? I asked. Oh, that's a good point, she replied. What if someone in the city morgue was in on the kidnapping and faked the records? Milan asked. That's a sound theory, I responded. I gathered everything we found and was going to head to Jasper's office next door, but he and the others came into Sarin's office right on cue. Hey, perfect timing, I tell him. What did you guys find? Jasper asked. Everything, Melody replied. We all went over the various articles talking about Victor and Gina from the mugging, the missing person reports, his parents' media coverage, and even the obituaries of his and Gina's funerals. So, I was right, Lorenzo said, and we all looked at him. He was never meant to be captured. He was either supposed to die in the battle, or he was supposed to return to whoever turned him into a rogue werewolf, albeit it was only temporary. Why would someone kidnap a human, and turn them into a feral rogue werewolf? Let alone something of that size? Milan asked. And how, she added. Dark magic, Lorenzo answered. In the many centuries that I have been alive, I have never seen anything like this, he states. And something tells me, that all of the rogues today, and possibly from your first encounter were all humans. We all looked at each other, and the girls and I went back to search the internet for missing person reports of any humans that suddenly went missing, and then died not too long after. Milan eventually pulled up a virtual map of the United States onto the whiteboard in Sarin's office, and we started to place colored dots on all missing persons within the United States that matched Victor's case. Affluent, healthy, and young adult. I have one in Houston, Texas, Melody said. 18 years old, Michael Stark, went missing after a football game in November. His body discovered 2 days after his parents went on TV, identified through old remodeled injuries. I have another, Sarin said. Boulder, Colorado 20-year-old Megan Peck went missing after studying late in the library of her university. Her body was found 9 days after her disappearance, burned. They used dental records on her as well. I have another 21-year-old track star from Michigan State, Kevin Beckett. Same story as Victor's. Went missing after going on a date with his girlfriend Natalie Ortega. Both bodies were found, but only hers was identifiable, Jason said. You guys, our map looks like a Christmas tree. Milan exclaimed. We all looked up and sure enough, there are at least 100 dots on the map and all over the United States. Someone is kidnapping humans and turning them into fake werewolves, but why? Sarin asked. We all looked at her and none of us had an answer. Alpha, I think you should reach out to the other packs in your area to see if they are also experiencing this, Lorenzo said. I think that's a good idea, Jasper agreed. Kendrick, you, Melody, and Milan keep searching. We need to see how far back this really goes. Dearest, you and Lorenzo go back down to the cell and check on Victor. Since he's no longer a prisoner, I don't need to go with you. Jason, go to Dr. Andrews and tell him to get a rush on Victor's blood work, and to check if there are any foreign substances in his blood. I'm going to call around to the other packs and see if they've been attacked or not. We all nod our heads, and everyone goes to do what they need to do. Jasper's POV. I spent hours on the phone with packs across the country, and to my surprise, none of them have been attacked. Which my suspicions with these artificial wolves even more heightened. We were the only pack being attacked. Though we haven't lost anyone yet, what's not to say the next attack won't be bigger and with more of these things. I leaned back in my chair and rubbed my face with my hands when I heard a knock on the door. It cracked open. I looked to see Sarin smiling at me. "Come here," I said to her, and she walked over, naturally sitting in my lap and snuggling close to me. "How's Victor?" "He's resting now. When he's strong enough, we should move him to a guest bedroom, or one of the cottages. I don't think it's safe for him to go home," she said softly. "I agree with you. His family thinks he's dead, and I'm sure whoever is behind all of this thinks he is too." What did the other packs have to say? None of them have been attacked by rogues, at least not recently. They've only had their run-of-the-mill rogue encounters, and nothing has seemed off. "Wait, are you saying that we're the only ones getting attacked?" She lifted her head and looked at me. "That's exactly what I'm saying." Her facial expression to my answer was full of fear and concern. "Hey, don't do that, don't go there. We're going to be okay, baby, nothing is going to happen to us or the people we care about." "Jasper, you can't promise that. The first attack was almost a dozen, this last one was almost 30 if not more. What's not to say the next one won't be 50 or even 100. Sarin, whoever is doing this can't kidnap that many people without being noticed." "But they already have, Jasper. You saw the map in my office, there were over 100 dots, and those are only humans that were reported missing, within the last month. Who knows how long this crazy person has been kidnapping humans and turning them into fake werewolves to come after us." As much as I hated to admit it, Sarin had a point. We had no idea who or what was behind this and how long they've been behind it. The only thing we could get an upper hand was to somehow get Victor to remember where he was for 2 weeks before the attack. "Yo," Jason said, coming into my office. "Dr. Andrews says he has an answer for us." Sarin and I got up and headed down to the pack hospital. We went straight to Dr. Andrews' office. "Alpha, Luna, Gamma, please come in." "Dr. Andrews," Jason said, "you have an answer regarding the human?" I asked. "I do, and Victor is telling the truth. He is in fact human. He has no supernatural DNA in him whatsoever. However, I did run a tox screen on his blood and found something very interesting, or I should say several things." "What did you find?" Sarin asked. "I found feral wolf DNA." "But you just said that he had no supernatural DNA in him," Jason said. "Gamma, the feral wolf DNA was not from that of a werewolf, it's from a normal wolf." "What?" we all exclaim. "In addition, I found a strain of the canine parvovirus, rabies, and anabolic steroids." "I don't understand, what is parvo?" Sarin asked. "Luna, canine parvovirus is a contagious virus mainly affecting dogs, but there is a strain that can actually affect humans." Sarin furrowed her brows and cd'd her head. "It is a virus that werewolves can also contract, which is why it's part of a pup's newborn shots, just like that of a puppy a human would raise." Sarin just nodded her head in understanding. "Dr. Andrews, the canine parvovirus is deadly. How did a human contract it and not die?" I asked. "Well, this particular strand doesn't have the same effects as the normal parvovirus strain. It has been genetically altered, and I believe with the mix of wolf DNA, the virus, rabies, and the steroids, and some dark magic, it can turn a normal human into a feral werewolf." I was dumbfounded by what I just heard. Jason was in shock, and Sarin just grabbed her hair trying to take in all of the scientific mumbo-jumbos Dr. Andrews just spilled. Alpha, by any chance do you remember if any of these feral rogues returned to their human form after death? I don't know honestly doctor, I didn't sit back and wait. Jasper, they didn't turn back, Jason said to me. When a werewolf dies, it should turn back to their human form, but these didn't. Alpha, I would like to do some research, but I would need a fresh cadaver to do so. I hate to say this, but if we are attacked again, I need one of the corpses intact, head and all. It's not a matter of it, it's a matter of when, I reply. None of the other packs have been attacked, so that means we're being targeted, and someone in our pack is helping the enemy get these fake wolves to get into our territory, I say to no one in particular. The energy in the room was dark and cold, but they needed to hear it. After we left Dr. Andrews' office, we all had dinner in the main dining room. I explained to everyone else that we're the only pack being attacked, and everyone's guards went up. The first rogue attack wasn't random, and we all knew that now. It was orc.hest rated, and this second one was a complete ambush. Because Sarin was training out on the lake, we were caught off guard, but we were lucky that no one died. And Victor's survival is what allowed us to figure out what is going on, or at least partially. After dinner, everyone went to their respective rooms, but Sarin wanted to check on Victor and take him down some food and water. So, I went with her, plus, I needed to explain to him what was going on if I wanted him to trust us. He was a victim in all of this, and he deserved the truth. Victor! Sarin called out. I turned on the light that hovered over his cell, and surprisingly, he was awake and sitting on the bed, his back against the wall. I brought you some dinner, she said. Angelo unlocked the cell, and Sarin and I went inside. I'm not hungry. Victor, I can hear your stomach growling. I promise, the food is safe to eat, Sarin said sweetly and sat next to him. He looked at her funny and then down at the food that was still steaming. It's okay, she said to him and placed the tray on his lap. Victor gave in and ate the food. She opened the bottle of water for him and he took it. Sarin just smiled as he ate all of the food. When he was done, Sarin took the empty tray and handed it to Angelo. Why are you being nice to me? Victor asked. Because we want to help you, I answered. He looked at me and furrowed his brows. He tried to sit up a little more, but I could tell that he was still in pain. He was going to be for at least a few weeks with his injuries, especially with him being human. Why? Victor, I'm going to tell you everything, and it's going to sound like a bunch of bullshit to you, but I promise, I'm going to be 100% truthful, and so will Sarin. What I need is for you to keep an open mind and not to get upset. Can you do that? He looked at me a minute and nodded his head. Sarin came back to me, and we sat on 2 chairs in front of him. Victor, Sarin and I are werewolves, I tell him, and his eyes widen. I'm the alpha, and Sarin is my Luna, the alpha female. She is my mate, a soul mate if you will. We run this pack together. Victor's eyes just blink really fast as he tries to take this information in. Victor, we believe that you were kidnapped by someone or something, and they performed some kind of dark magic on and gave you some kind of potion that contained a mixture of wolf DNA, canine parvovirus, rabies, and steroids, Sarin said, trying to repeat everything Dr. Andrews said. It turned you into a werewolf, but only temporarily, it's how you ended up here. You and a bunch of others who we believe were also humans that were kidnapped attacked our land. Most of them were killed, but a few of the survivors ran away, and you were captured. We also think that whoever is behind his didn't expect you to make out of this alive, or at least not get captured by us alive. We found a bunch of news articles about you and missing person reports. Your parents even went on T.V, I tell him. Release me then, I'm alive, aren't I? Let me go home. Victor shouted, forcing himself to sit up straight. We can't, I reply, and he looks at me with daggers in his eyes. Why the hell not? Because they think you're dead, Sarin answered. They held a funeral for you and for Gina. What? Gina didn't make it. I'm so sorry, Sarin said, extending her hand and grabbing his. Your bodies were found a few days after your parents were on TV. Whoever did this, didn't want people to look for you. But I'm alive, how did they bury a body if I'm right here? According to the news, your body wasn't identifiable, so they used dental records. However, Gina's body was intact. We think that whoever provided the dental records to the police doctored your records to prove your death so no one would ask questions. You see, we can't let you go home, not yet. We need to figure out who is doing this, and why they're doing it. You're a victim, Victor, and we want to help you get justice for what happened to you, and for what happened to Gina. But also for those who didn't get to make it. What do you mean by that? You're not the only one, Victor. We found over 100 missing persons that are just like you. Young, affluential, and healthy. Both male and female, I answer. Wait, so, all of those bodies I saw before passing out, they were once all human? We think so, I reply. Unfortunately, we didn't know any of this until we brought you down here. You're helping us without even realizing it. So, what, are you guys going to turn me into some kind of experiment? No, we would never do that. We're going to help you get healthy again, and we're going to give you sanctuary within our pack until we can figure everything new. How do you plan on giving me sanctuary? There are over 800 werewolves within our pack, and they all answer to me and Sarin. You will be under our protection, and our word is the law in this pack. You will not be harmed, and you will be treated as a human being. I'm going to have you moved to a hospital room within our castle in the morning so you can rest more comfortably and under the watch of our pack doctor. This is too much. You're telling me that I'm safe in a pack of 800 werewolves? How do I know you all won't eat me? Because unlike the SHT you see on TV and in movies, werewolves don't eat humans or drink their blood. We eat as humans do, we eat regular food, and live amongst humans everywhere. Are you from Detroit? I am. Have you heard of Valencia architecture? I have. That's my company. I'm Jasper Valencia, the president and CEO. His eyes when I said that protruded out of his head. As I said, werewolves and other supernatural beings live amongst humans naturally. Some have normal 9-to-5 jobs, and some just stay at home and work here within the pack territory. Some of the pack members work at my company, but I also employ humans, a few witches and wizards, and my graveyard security have a few vampires, the not-so-evil kind that feed on the blood of animals and not humans. This is crazy, this is absolutely insane. You're telling me that supernaturals actually exist? Victor all but shouted in our faces. I can show you if you're still having trouble believing me, I tell him. I stand up from my chair and remove my clothes. I shift into blade into and tower over Victor, who looks like he's about to SHT himself. Don't be scared, Sarin says and pets Blade's big snout. This is Blade, he is Jasper's wolf. He's large because he's the alpha, and unless he's fighting in a battle or sparring during morning training, he's just a big puppy, Sarin says. Blade huffs at her remark, and she just nuzzles his neck. How the hell are you not afraid of him? Victor exclaims. Remember how Jasper said that I was his mate? Victor nods. Well, it works with our wolf counterparts as well. You see, our wolves are their own separate souls that share a body with us. They can speak to us, in our minds, and when we let them take control. Their subconscious can take control of our body, or we can shift into our wolf form. Jasper is my human mate, and Blade is my wolf mate. Blade loves me as much as Jasper does, and he is protective of me as much as Jasper is. Hurting me in any kind of way, whether it's physical or emotional, hurts him, so he would never do that, at least not on purpose, Sarin explains with a smile. Blade nudges his head and lays down at her feet. So, can you shift into a wolf too? I can, but my wolf is a little different. She's smaller, and she's actually pink. What? I'm a special wolf, Victor. What do you mean by special? I'm not allowed to talk it with non-pack members, it's actually for my safety and the safety of the pack. Okay. I know this is a lot to handle, but Jasper and I wanted to be honest with you since you were honest with us, or at least you were honest in your own way. We just ask that if you ever do get to go home to your family, you can't tell anyone about us. Humans are not supposed to know about werewolves unless they are mated to one. Mated to one? Are you saying that humans and werewolves can actually date? Date is more of a human thing. Like Jasper said, a wolf's mate is like their soul mate. We feel drawn to them, and fall in love almost instantly. There is a bond that forms between them, and most wolves cannot live without their mate. They love each other wholeheartedly and they're together until one of them dies. Even then, the bond can be so strong that the surviving mate will commit suicide. How does it work for a human? My understanding is that the bond is there, but wolf will feel it more. The human will feel after they have sex for the first time. So, are you born a werewolf? Yes and no. You see, depending on what part of the world a werewolf lives in will determine when they gain their wolf. We're born just like humans, but we don't gain our wolf counterpart until we are 18, at least for werewolves that live in this part of the United States. I know of some packs where some gain their wolf as early as 13, and other parts of the world, as late as 21. How old are you and Jasper? I'm 18, and Jasper is 26. That's a big age gap. Yeah, she said with a smile and kept petting Blade. I sent her a quick mind link. Dearest, it's getting late. We should go to bed and let him rest. Okay. Whoa, what did you just do? Victor asked. Do what? Your eyes, they turned white just now. Oh, Jasper and I were talking through our mind link. You're what? Werewolves who are part of the same pack or are linked by their bond can speak to each other using their minds. Since Jasper is currently in wolf form, we can only talk to each through our mind link, right now. What did he say? He said that it's getting late and we should let you rest. Once we move you to the hospital, and you're back to 100% health, we will answer any other questions you have, okay? Yeah, sure. Blade gets up and I shift back. I put on my clothes and look back at Victor is stunned at what he just witnessed. Get some sleep, Victor. Tomorrow we will have you moved to the hospital. Okay, I take Sarin's hand and we leave the cellar. We head back to our room, and when we get there, CK on the lamp and Sarin's face plants the bed almost immediately. I take off my shirt and pants and leave my boxers. I get in bed behind Sarin and spoon her from behind. You did good, dearest, I whisper to her. I'm surprised he didn't scream or try to run away. Well, I think it has to do with the fact he can barely move from his injuries and he's chained to the bed. Oh, yeah, I just chuckle at her, and she giggles. Go to bed, dearest, I kisses her shoulder and turned off the lamp. I take a deep breath, inhaling Sarin's scent of chamomile tea, and fall asleep. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.